Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now before I get started I must warn you that this video is going to be more me talking than it is actual benchmarking, but there will be some gameplay benchmarks in this one as well. So this week has been pretty busy for me in terms of buying computer parts. A friend of mine about a week ago asked me to build them a PC, and despite me saying that now is not the best time, they were getting frustrated from the fact that they couldn't find cheap PC parts, nor could they actually find a next generation console. You know, it was one or the other for them, and after having no luck finding PlayStation 5s or Xbox Series X's, they decided they were going to go ahead and build a PC, and they asked me for help. Now, one particular card I've noticed that has sort of escaped silly inflated prices, or let's say extremely inflated prices, is the 6700 XT. I've been seeing a lot of these go for at least £700 from all of your favourite online retailers, and this seems to carry over to eBay. The thing with the 6700 XT is that from the reviews I've seen, no matter the resolution, it seems to sit between the 3060 Ti and the 3070 from Nvidia. So in terms of competition, it's somewhere in the middle. Sometimes it outperforms both cards, rarely, and sometimes the 3060 Ti outperforms the 6700 XT. Either way, the prices of those two Nvidia options are well above £1,000. You want a 3060 Ti, you're going to be paying a huge premium for one, and considering it's like a £400 card, yeah. The 6700 XT on the other hand, well, a lot of these are going, as I say, for between £700 and £800, and on eBay that doesn't seem to be too different. So I actually ended up buying two of these this week. I know. One of them was what I thought was the cheapest card on eBay at the time, coming in at just over £600. This was too much, to be honest, but when you're building a PC for someone that doesn't care about the price, you just think, okay, I'm going to go ahead and buy it anyway, and they're going to be paying for it. You know, I said the prices are inflated, but what can you do? This was still the cheapest 6700 XT I could find anyway, but it doesn't make me happy by any means. I did think that I could do better, so I started scouring all of these used sites: Facebook Marketplace, Gumtree, eBay, refreshing the newly listed items, and eventually I came across another one of these literally a few hours later. That's the most annoying thing about it. Another 6700 XT, the Power Color Fighter version. I came across another one that didn't have any box, it didn't have any accessories, and it was listed as faulty or not working as it should. So after discussing with the seller the price, the defects and things like that, we exchanged numbers, and I asked a little bit more about the issues that they were facing. I'll put the chat logs up on the screen here so you can read them. I won't read through them because that's just taking up unnecessary time on what I feel is already going to be me rambling on for way too long. So you may notice in these chat logs that the price of this so-called faulty 6700 XT was £470. Now this is a little bit more than the £420 RRP, but at that price it was well and truly the cheapest 6700 XT I had ever seen. I tried to buy one of these on launch day, like I did with the 3060. I even made a video, and when I refreshed all the pages at the time that this was supposed to release, it was nowhere to be seen. It never even came into stock as far as I'm concerned. So at £470, I thought, not bad, and we went ahead and discussed the details. Now it looks like a pretty controversial price, as I say, but it's probably not the most controversial thing in a chat log that you've read this week. Anyway, yeah, I went to pick up this card. It was described as working, but then sort of cutting out under load, and lo and behold, here we have the 6700 XT. Now initially putting it into the system, everything fired up just fine. The driver's installed. This is the Power Color Fighter variant. There really wasn't too much about it online. I couldn't find any information. Pretty much I couldn't find any other reviews of this 12 gig card. It's even spec'd wrong on the Power Color website. They say you need two 8-pin connectors, but this one just needs one 8 and one 6-pin connector, and GPU-Z doesn't even recognise this GPU. So yeah, judging by the earlier chat logs as well, it seemed as though the seller was in a rush to get rid of it, which is always a bit suspicious, but when they're being as honest as they were, pretty much listing it as a non-working card, well, it was hard not to trust them. Jumping into some games then, and what I noticed was that the card was working absolutely fine. Games were running well. I was only testing at 1080p just to check the stability of the card initially, but everything was going fairly smoothly. All of my favourite games, Red Dead, GTA, things like that were running absolutely fine with more often than not over 100 frames per second. The card was also staying pretty cool and quiet, to be fair, and I couldn't really find any problems with it whatsoever. This was also true at 4K. I bumped the resolution up to 4K in Cyberpunk just to really try and push this thing, and again, the card ran fine. The frame rate wasn't brilliant, as you can imagine, at 4K in Cyberpunk with this GPU, but it ran and there were no problems. So I got back onto the seller and I said, you do know that this card is working fine, there are no issues with it. I'll put that up here. And then we got onto the topic of power supplies. I asked them what power supply they had, and lo and behold, herein lies the problem. A light power 450 watt PSU from Thermaltake. Now I see a lot of people using these on YouTube in budget builds, and yes, they're fine as far as cheap power supplies go, I guess, if you're not using anything too demanding in terms of graphical power or even processors, but yeah, they're not the sort of power supply that I would recommend pairing with a pretty thirsty card, especially one like a 6700 XT or a 3070. And a 3070 was the GPU that this person was then swapping their 6700 XT for, so they were probably going to experience the same problems. We haven't taken it any further in the conversation. I did say at one point that I would take a look, and if I could fix it, I would offer it them back if they wanted it. Because they could sell the 3070 for more on eBay. I don't know how they found two graphics cards that no one else can find. First the 6700 and then the 3070. I don't know what this person is doing other than refreshing the Nvidia and AMD websites every 2 seconds, but there we go. The 6700 XT that apparently was not working is working. The person just made a huge mistake when putting it into their system and not upgrading or even checking their power supply. This was clearly someone inexperienced, but I do see this a lot. I see it a lot with first time builds, or just when people think, well, I'm going to upgrade a graphics card, they don't always take all of these options into consideration, and it is important to do so, because otherwise you could end up with a card that you think is failing when really it's another part of your system entirely causing the problems. We had something similar just the other day ourselves with the Lenovo PC. You may remember the OEM power supply wasn't enough to handle the 1060 in that case, yet swapping it out for something different meant that it ran absolutely fine. So there we go, the story of my cheap 6700 XT, or cheap-ish. I'll probably sell the one that I originally bought off eBay, back on eBay, and then let the person who I'm building the PC for have this cheap one if the other person who sold it to me doesn't want it back, but we'll have to see what happens. I might try and hold on to this card for a while, at least one of them, so that I can put it in my main system. I haven't had an AMD card for a while. That's not down to favoritism, it's just that I've always had more experience with Nvidia GPUs, so I tend to try and find those. So maybe this will be the new benchmarking card. I certainly want to try another Ultimate Bottleneck video with it very soon as well, but there we go. I said this one was going to be more talking than actual gameplay. Nonetheless, I hope you've enjoyed it. I wanted to talk to you about this story because I think there's a lesson to be learned here somewhere regarding power supplies and making sure that you have enough power for your new card. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you liked it, leave a like on it, leave a dislike if you didn't. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Make sure you have a powerful enough power supply for that new graphics card, if you can find a new graphics card, that is. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Did I just say that? I don't know. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.